Liam O'Connell was a man of quiet dignity, a quality often mistaken for meekness. In the bustling metropolis of New York City, where ambition roared and success was flaunted, Liam was an anomaly. He worked as a freelance software architect, a profession that allowed him to work from home, raise his 2 young children, and support his wife, Sarah, a rising star in the cutthroat world of corporate finance. Sarah was the extrovert, the social butterfly, the one who navigated high-stakes meetings and charmed clients with effortless grace. Liam was her anchor, her steady rock, the silent force behind her dazzling ascent. Their life, from the outside, seemed idyllic. A beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn, 2 bright-eyed children, and a career for Sarah that was the envy of many. But beneath the polished surface, a subtle tension simmered, fueled by Sarah's demanding career and the unspoken expectations of her corporate world. Liam, with his unassuming demeanor and preference for a quiet life, often felt like an outsider in Sarah's professional sphere. One crisp autumn evening, Sarah was hosting a pivotal corporate gala for Sterling Financial, the investment bank where she was a senior vice president. This was no ordinary event. It was a celebration of a monumental merger, a deal Sarah had single-handedly orchestrated, bringing in nearly $1 billion in new assets. The guest list was a who's who of Wall Street, and Sarah had insisted Liam attend. "It's important, Liam," she'd said, her voice a mix of excitement and a hint of something else he couldn't quite place. "Everyone will be there. My boss, Mr. Harrison, the CEO. It's a big night for me, for us." Liam, despite his discomfort with such lavish affairs, agreed. He wanted to support Sarah, to be there for her on her biggest night. He spent the afternoon getting the children ready for the babysitter, ironing his best suit, and mentally preparing himself for an evening of forced smiles and polite small talk. He was a man of substance, not superficiality, and these events always felt like a performance. They arrived at the opulent ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria, a grand spectacle of crystal chandeliers and polished marble. The air buzzed with the murmur of 100 conversations, the clinking of glasses, and the faint strains of a jazz band. Sarah, radiant in a sapphire gown, immediately became the center of attention, her colleagues flocking to congratulate her. Liam, as usual, drifted to the periphery, content to observe, a quiet smile on his face as he watched his wife shine as they made their way to their assigned table. A small, elegant card caught Liam's eye. It was a place card, meticulously calligraphed, indicating their seats. Sarah's name was there, in bold, elegant script, Sarah O'Connell, Senior Vice President. Next to it, a card for him. He leaned closer, a flicker of amusement crossing his face, expecting to see his name. Instead, scrawled in a hasty, almost contemptuous hand, were 2 words, "Idiot trash." The blood drained from Liam's face. The elegant ballroom, the glittering lights, the joyous chatter. It all blurred into a sickening haze. He felt a cold knot tighten in his stomach. Idiot trash. The words echoed in his mind, sharp and venomous. He looked at Sarah, who was still beaming, oblivious, chatting animatedly with a colleague. He didn't want to ruin her night, not tonight. He quickly flipped the card over, his hand trembling slightly, and took his seat. Throughout the evening, the words gnawed at him. Who would do such a thing? And why? He tried to dismiss it, to tell himself it was a childish prank, a mistake. But the venom in those 2 words felt too deliberate, too personal. He glanced around the table, at Sarah's colleagues, their faces a mix of feigned camaraderie and thinly veiled ambition. Was it Mr. Harrison, Sarah's notoriously demanding boss, known for his cruel jokes? Or perhaps one of Sarah's rivals, jealous of her success? He noticed a smirk on the face of Mark Jenkins, a junior VP who had always seemed to resent Sarah's rapid rise. Mark had a reputation for being a snake, always ready to undermine anyone who threatened his own position. Liam's gaze lingered on Mark, a silent suspicion taking root. Later, as Sarah was accepting an award for her contribution to the merger, Liam slipped away. He needed air, space, a moment to process the insult. He found himself in a quiet corridor, away from the din of the party. He pulled out his phone, his fingers flying across the keyboard. He wasn't just a freelance software architect. He was also a silent partner in a highly successful, albeit discreet, cybersecurity firm. A firm that specialized in digital forensics and corporate espionage. A firm that, unbeknownst to Sarah or anyone at Sterling Financial, had been quietly building a reputation for uncovering corporate secrets and exposing corruption. He sent a cryptic message to his team. Initiate Project Chimera. Target: Sterling Financial. Priority: immediate. Find the source of the insult. Leave no stone unturned. Project Chimera was their most aggressive protocol, reserved for cases of extreme personal violation or corporate malfeasance. Liam had never imagined he would unleash it on his wife's company. The next few weeks were a blur of clandestine activity. While Sarah celebrated her triumph, Liam worked in the shadows, his quiet demeanor masking a simmering rage. His team, a network of brilliant hackers and digital sleuths, delved deep into Sterling Financial's digital infrastructure. They uncovered a web of corporate malfeasance that would make headlines for years to come. It started with small irregularities. Inflated expense reports, suspicious offshore accounts. Then came the bigger fish: insider trading, illegal lobbying, and a systematic scheme to defraud pension funds. The architect of much of this corruption was none other than Mr. Harrison, Sarah's esteemed boss, and his protege, Mark Jenkins. The idiot trash place card, Liam's team discovered, was Mark's handiwork, a petty act of malice born of jealousy and a desire to undermine Sarah, whom he saw as a threat to his own illicit dealings. The irony was not lost on Liam. The man who had called him idiot trash was himself a criminal, a parasite feeding off the very system he pretended to uphold. And Sarah, his brilliant, ambitious wife, had been unknowingly working for a viper's nest. Liam meticulously compiled the evidence, creating an airtight case against Harrison and Jenkins. He didn't want revenge, he wanted justice. He wanted to expose the rot at the heart of Sterling Financial, to protect the innocent employees and investors who were being exploited. And he wanted to ensure that no one, especially his wife, would ever again be subjected to such contempt. He presented his findings to the FBI and the SEC, anonymously at first, then with a carefully orchestrated leak to a prominent financial journalist. The scandal erupted like a volcano, shaking Wall Street to its core. Harrison and Jenkins were arrested, their careers and reputations shattered. Sterling Financial, once a titan of the industry, faced massive fines and a complete overhaul of its leadership. Sarah was devastated, not by the collapse of her company, but by the betrayal. She had believed in Sterling Financial, had poured her heart and soul into its success. And to discover that her mentor, Mr. Harrison, was a criminal, and that her colleague, Mark, had deliberately tried to humiliate her husband. It was a bitter pill to swallow. Liam, ever the quiet anchor, was there for her. He explained everything, from the place card to the investigation, his voice calm and steady. Sarah, initially shocked, eventually understood. She saw the depth of his love, the quiet strength that had always been there, protecting her even when she was unaware. In the aftermath, Sarah left Sterling Financial. With Liam's support and her own formidable talent, she started her own investment firm, built on principles of integrity and transparency. Liam, of course, was her silent partner, her strategic advisor, the man who ensured her digital security was impenetrable. Their new firm, O'Connell and Associates, quickly gained a reputation for ethical practices and impressive returns, attracting clients who had grown disillusioned with the greed of Wall Street. One day, a package arrived at their new office. It was from a former employee of Sterling Financial, a junior analyst who had been inspired by Liam's anonymous exposé. Inside was a small, elegantly framed place card. It read, Liam O'Connell, co-founder, O'Connell and Associates. Below it, in a small, almost invisible script, were the words, the true architect of justice. Liam smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. He had never sought recognition, only justice. And in the quiet triumph of his wife's success, and the respect of those who truly understood, he found his greatest reward. The idiot trash had indeed become the architect of justice, proving that true power lies not in titles or wealth, but in integrity, resilience, and the quiet strength to stand up for what is right. And sometimes, the most profound revenge is simply living your best life, built on foundations of truth and honor, while those who wronged you crumble under the weight of their own karma. The words idiot trash had not just been scrawled on a card. They had been etched into Liam's soul. He had always prided himself on his quiet strength, his ability to navigate life's complexities with a calm resolve. But this was different. This was a direct assault on his dignity, a blatant disrespect that cut deeper than any professional slight. He knew, with a chilling certainty, that this wasn't just a random act of malice. It was personal, calculated, and designed to humiliate as Sarah continued to bask in the glow of her success. Oblivious to the venomous insult hidden beneath her husband's seat, Liam's mind raced. He replayed every interaction he'd had with Sarah's colleagues, searching for clues, for a hint of who could harbor such contempt. Mark Jenkins's smirk flashed in his memory, a fleeting image that now seemed laden with sinister intent. Mark, with his slicked-back hair and condescending tone, had always made Liam feel like an unwelcome accessory at these corporate functions. But to stoop to such a level? It seemed almost too petty, yet entirely within Mark's character. Liam's internal conflict was intense. His first instinct was to confront Sarah, to expose the ugliness that lurked beneath the glittering facade of her corporate world. But he knew Sarah. Her ambition was a fragile, beautiful thing, easily shattered by cynicism. This was her night, her triumph. To tarnish it with such a crude display of malice would be unforgivable. He would protect her even from the truth for now. But protection didn't mean inaction. Liam was a man of logic, a master of systems. He understood that every action had a reaction, every insult a consequence. And this insult, he decided, would have monumental consequences. He wasn't interested in petty revenge. He was interested in justice. A justice that would be swift, surgical, and utterly devastating to those who dared to disrespect him and, by extension, his family. His mind, usually calm and analytical, was now a whirlwind of possibilities. He thought of Project Chimera, the highly classified protocol he had developed for his cybersecurity firm, Nexus Solutions. It was designed for situations where conventional methods of investigation were insufficient, where the target was deeply entrenched and protected. Project Chimera was a digital ghost, capable of infiltrating the most secure networks, extracting data, and leaving no trace. He had built it for high-stakes corporate espionage, for uncovering state-sponsored cyber threats, never imagining he would deploy it against his wife's company. But the insult, the sheer audacity of it, had ignited something primal within him. He wasn't just Liam O'Connell, the quiet software architect. He was also the silent force behind Nexus Solutions, a man capable of dismantling empires with a few lines of code. And tonight, an empire would fall. As Sarah's acceptance speech concluded, met with thunderous applause, Liam felt a cold resolve settle over him. He clapped politely, a practiced smile on his face, but his eyes held a dangerous glint. He would find out who was responsible, and he would make them pay, not with violence, but with the relentless, unforgiving power of truth. That he excused himself, citing a sudden headache, and made his way to a secluded corner of the ballroom, pulling out his encrypted satellite phone. The message he sent to his lead operative, a brilliant but eccentric hacker named Anya Sharma, was brief and to the point. Initiate Project Chimera. Target: Sterling Financial. Priority: immediate. Find the source of the insult. Leave no stone unturned. I want everything. Anya's reply was instantaneous. Consider it done, boss. The digital ghosts are already at work. Liam felt a grim satisfaction. The game had begun. And he, the idiot trash, was about to become the most dangerous player on the field. The following days were a delicate dance of deception and discovery. Liam maintained his usual routine, dropping off the kids at school, working on his freelance projects, and being the supportive husband Sarah expected. But beneath the surface, his mind was constantly engaged, processing the encrypted reports that flowed in from Anya and her team. They were like digital archaeologists, sifting through layers of code, emails, and financial transactions, slowly piecing together a mosaic of corruption that was far more extensive than Liam had initially imagined. He learned that Sterling Financial wasn't just a company. It was a carefully constructed house of cards, built on a foundation of lies and deceit. Mr. Harrison, the CEO, was not just a demanding boss. He was a puppet master, pulling strings behind the scenes, orchestrating a vast network of illegal activities. Mark Jenkins, the junior VP, was not just a petty rival. He was Harrison's eager accomplice, a sycophant who reveled in his boss's power and participated in his schemes with chilling enthusiasm. The reports detailed inflated expense accounts not just for Harrison, but for a dozen other executives. There were shell corporations in offshore tax havens, funneling millions of dollars away from legitimate investments. There were suspicious stock trades, perfectly timed to coincide with major corporate announcements, indicating blatant insider trading. And most disturbingly, there was a systematic scheme to defraud pension funds, siphoning off the hard-earned savings of countless ordinary Americans. This wasn't just about a place card anymore. This was about systemic corruption, about greed that knew no bounds. Liam felt a growing sense of disgust. He had always believed in the power of honest work, in the integrity of the financial system. To see it so brazenly exploited, so shamelessly abused, filled him with a righteous anger. He knew he couldn't just expose the insult. He had to expose the entire rotten core of Sterling Financial. This wasn't just for Sarah or for himself. It was for all the innocent people who had been, or would be, victimized by this corporate greed. He spent hours poring over the data, cross-referencing names, dates, and transactions. His analytical mind, honed by years of complex coding and problem-solving, found patterns where others saw chaos. He identified key players, traced money trails, and uncovered hidden communications. The more he dug, the deeper the rabbit hole went. It was a labyrinth of deceit, but Liam, with his quiet determination, was slowly but surely mapping its every turn. Sarah, meanwhile, was riding high on the wave of her recent success. She was being lauded as the architect of the merger, her name whispered in boardrooms across Wall Street. She worked longer hours, her phone constantly buzzing with calls and emails. Liam watched her, a pang of sadness in his heart. She was so close to the truth, yet so far away. He knew that when the truth finally came out, it would shatter her world. But he also knew that she was strong, resilient, and capable of rebuilding. And he would be there, as always, to help her pick up the pieces. One evening, as they sat down for dinner, Sarah looked at him, her eyes tired but bright. "You've been quiet lately, Liam," she said, a hint of concern in her voice. "Everything all right?" Liam forced a smile. "Just a few complex projects at work," he lied smoothly. "And you? Still conquering Wall Street?" Sarah laughed, a genuine, joyful sound. "Something like that. Harrison's been singing my praises. He even hinted at a promotion, maybe even a partnership track." Liam felt a cold shiver run down his spine. A partnership with Harrison? The thought was repulsive. He knew he had to act soon. The net was closing in, and he couldn't let Sarah get any deeper into the web of deceit. He decided to accelerate Project Chimera. Anya and her team were already close to compiling a comprehensive dossier, a digital smoking gun that would expose Sterling Financial's every transgression. Liam instructed them to prepare a summary, a concise yet damning report that he could use to initiate the next phase of his plan. He wasn't just going to expose them. He was going to dismantle them, piece by piece, until nothing remained but the ashes of their corruption. The final report from Nexus Solutions was a masterpiece of digital forensics. It was a meticulously documented account of every illegal transaction, every fraudulent scheme, every act of corporate malfeasance. It included encrypted emails, bank statements, and even recorded conversations, all legally obtained through a series of sophisticated cyber operations that left no trace. Liam reviewed it with a critical eye, ensuring every detail was accurate, every accusation supported by irrefutable evidence. This wasn't just a report. It was a weapon, forged in the fires of his quiet rage, ready to be unleashed upon those who had dared to call him idiot trash. He knew the impact this would have. It would send shockwaves through Wall Street, destroy careers, and potentially bring down a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But he also knew it was necessary. Justice, he believed, was not about revenge, but about restoring balance, about holding the powerful accountable for their actions. And tonight, balance would be restored. The day of reckoning arrived with the cold, unforgiving dawn of a New York winter. Liam had meticulously planned every step, every disclosure, every media contact. He had chosen a specific day, a day when Sterling Financial was scheduled to announce its quarterly earnings, a day when the financial world would be watching. He wanted maximum impact, maximum exposure. He had arranged for the comprehensive dossier from Nexus Solutions to be simultaneously delivered to the FBI, the SEC, and 3 of the most influential financial news outlets. The timing was crucial, just hours before the earnings call, ensuring that the news would break with explosive force, overshadowing any positive spin Sterling Financial might attempt. Sarah, meanwhile, was oblivious. She was at the office early, preparing for the earnings call, her mind buzzing with projections and investor questions. She had even called Liam that morning, her voice filled with nervous excitement. "Wish me luck, honey," she'd said. "This is a big one." Liam had wished her luck, his voice betraying none of the storm that was about to break. As the morning progressed, the first tremors began. A cryptic tweet from a well-known financial journalist, hinting at a major scandal about to engulf a prominent Wall Street firm. Then a breaking news alert, flashing across financial news channels, reporting an FBI raid on Sterling Financial's headquarters. The earnings call was abruptly canceled. Chaos erupted. Liam watched it all unfold from the quiet sanctuary of his home office, a grim satisfaction settling over him. He saw the frantic news reports, the stunned faces of financial analysts, the bewildered expressions of Sterling Financial executives being escorted out of their offices by federal agents. He saw Mr. Harrison, his face pale and drawn, being led away in handcuffs, and he saw Mark Jenkins, his usual smirk replaced by a look of utter terror, trying to hide from the cameras. Then his phone rang. It was Sarah. Her voice was trembling, a mix of shock, confusion, and raw pain. "Liam, what's happening? They're arresting Harrison. The FBI is everywhere. What's going on?" Liam took a deep breath. This was the hardest part. "Sarah," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "I need you to come home. We need to talk." When Sarah arrived, her face was streaked with tears, her sapphire gown from the gala now looking like a cruel mockery of her shattered dreams. She collapsed onto the sofa, burying her face in her hands. "It's all gone, Liam," she sobbed. "Everything I worked for. It's all a lie." Liam sat beside her, pulling her into a comforting embrace. He let her cry, letting the initial shock and grief wash over her. When her sobs subsided, he began to explain, starting with the place card, the 2 words that had ignited his quiet fury. He told her about Project Chimera, about Nexus Solutions, about the meticulous investigation that had uncovered the web of corruption. He showed her the dossier, the irrefutable evidence of Harrison's and Jenkins's crimes, the systematic defrauding of pension funds, the insider trading, the shell corporations. Sarah listened in stunned silence, her eyes wide with disbelief. The betrayal cut her deeper than the collapse of her career. Her mentor, the man she had admired and strived to emulate, was a criminal. Her colleague, whom she had trusted, had not only insulted her husband, but had actively participated in a vast criminal enterprise. The world she had so carefully built, the world she had believed in, was crumbling around her. "Why, Liam?" she whispered, her voice hoarse. "Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did you let me believe in all of this?" "Because it was your dream, Sarah," Liam replied, his gaze steady. "And I didn't want to be the one to shatter it. I wanted you to see the truth for yourself, to understand the depth of their deception. And I wanted to protect you, to ensure that when the truth came out, you would be clear of any involvement." He explained how he had carefully orchestrated the leak, ensuring that Sarah's name was never implicated, that her integrity remained untarnished. He had worked tirelessly to separate her achievements from the corruption that surrounded them, to preserve her reputation amidst the wreckage. Sarah looked at him, a new light dawning in her eyes. It wasn't just shock anymore. It was a dawning realization of the quiet strength, the unwavering loyalty, and the profound love that had always been there, protecting her in ways she had never imagined. She saw the man she had married, not just the quiet software architect, but the brilliant strategist, the fierce protector, the architect of justice. "Idiot trash," she murmured, a faint, bitter smile touching her lips. "They called you idiot trash, and you brought down an empire." Liam smiled, a genuine, unburdened smile. "Sometimes, Sarah," he said, "the quiet ones are the most dangerous, and sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply to expose the truth." The aftermath was long and arduous. Sterling Financial was dismantled, its assets seized, its executives facing lengthy prison sentences. The scandal became a cautionary tale on Wall Street, a stark reminder that even the most powerful institutions could be brought down by a single act of integrity. Sarah, true to Liam's belief in her resilience, did not crumble. She emerged from the wreckage stronger, wiser, and with a renewed sense of purpose. With Liam's unwavering support, she started her own investment firm, O'Connell and Associates. This time, it was built on a foundation of absolute transparency, ethical practices, and a commitment to protecting its clients' interests above all else. Liam, of course, was her silent partner, her strategic advisor, the technological backbone of the new firm. He designed their systems, ensured their cybersecurity, and developed proprietary algorithms that made O'Connell and Associates a beacon of integrity in a tarnished industry. Their new firm flourished. Clients, disillusioned with the greed and corruption of the old guard, flocked to O'Connell and Associates, drawn by its reputation for honesty and its impressive returns. Sarah, now free from the toxic environment of Sterling Financial, thrived. Her brilliance, once constrained by corporate politics, now shone brighter than ever. She became a respected voice in the financial world, an advocate for ethical practices, and a living testament to the power of integrity. Liam, meanwhile, continued to work in the shadows, his contributions often unseen but always vital. He found immense satisfaction in building something truly good, something that made a positive impact. He was no longer just the idiot trash at a corporate gala. He was the silent guardian, the unseen architect of a new, more ethical financial future. He had proven that true power lay not in the loudest voice or the biggest title, but in the quiet strength of conviction, the unwavering pursuit of justice, and the profound impact of a single courageous act. Their children grew up in a home where integrity was paramount, where the lessons of their parents' journey taught them the true meaning of success. Not wealth or power, but honor, resilience, and the courage to stand up for what is right. And sometimes, Liam reflected, as he watched Sarah confidently lead a virtual board meeting from their home office, the most profound revenge isn't about tearing others down, but about building something so strong, so true, that the shadows of the past simply fade away in its light. The place card, once an insult, had become a catalyst, transforming an ordinary man into an extraordinary force for justice, and proving that even an insult, when met with unwavering resolve, could become the foundation of an empire built on integrity. Years passed. O'Connell and Associates grew from a boutique firm into a respected financial powerhouse, known not just for its impressive returns, but for its unwavering ethical stance. Sarah, now a celebrated figure in her own right, often spoke at conferences about corporate governance and the importance of integrity in finance. She never explicitly mentioned Sterling Financial or the details of its downfall, but her message was clear. Honesty was not just the best policy, it was the only sustainable path to true success. Liam, still the quiet force behind the scenes, found his own satisfaction in the intricate dance of algorithms and cybersecurity protocols. He continued to innovate, developing cutting-edge systems that protected their clients from the very types of fraud he had once exposed. His work was his passion, and the knowledge that he was contributing to a more just and transparent financial world was his greatest reward. He occasionally received anonymous messages of gratitude from former Sterling Financial employees, people whose lives had been saved from financial ruin by his actions. These were the true accolades, far more meaningful than any public recognition. Their children, now teenagers, were growing up with a strong sense of justice and integrity. They saw their parents as role models, not just for their professional success, but for their unwavering commitment to their values. They learned that true strength lay not in aggression or dominance, but in quiet conviction and the courage to stand up for what is right, even when it was difficult. One evening, as Liam was tucking his daughter, Emily, into bed, she asked him, "Dad, what's the most important thing you've learned in life?" Liam paused, considering his answer. He thought of the place card, the insult, the quiet rage that had fueled his actions. He thought of Sarah, her initial devastation, and her eventual triumph. He thought of the countless hours spent poring over data, the meticulous planning, the calculated risks. He thought of the corrupt executives, their careers shattered, their lives in ruins. And he thought of the quiet satisfaction of knowing he had made a difference. "The most important thing, Emily," he said softly, "is that your worth is not defined by what others say about you. It's defined by who you are and what you choose to do. And sometimes the people who try to put you down, they're just afraid of your potential. Don't ever let anyone dim your light." Emily nodded, her eyes wide with understanding. "So, even if someone calls you idiot trash?" she asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. Liam chuckled, a warm, genuine sound. "Especially then," he said, "because sometimes idiot trash can become the architect of justice." He kissed her forehead and left her room, a profound sense of peace settling over him. The scars of the past remained, but they no longer defined him. They were simply reminders of a battle fought and won, a testament to the enduring power of integrity and the quiet strength of a man who refused to be underestimated. The name on the place card had been an insult, but it had also been a prophecy. Liam O'Connell, the idiot trash, had indeed become the architect of justice, building an empire not of wealth, but of honor, and leaving a legacy that would inspire generations to come. And in the quiet hum of his home, surrounded by the love of his family, he knew that was the greatest victory of all.